What happens when a family who claims to live beyond the reach of modern society suddenly finds itself at the center of one of television's biggest reality scandals? And what happens when the eldest son, once seen as the heart of the family, vanishes without a trace from both the wilderness and the spotlight? This is the story of Matt Brown, his rise, his disappearance, and the truth that shook the very foundation of Alaskan Bush people. When Discovery Channel first introduced Alaskan Bush people in May 2014, it promised audiences something unique, a family that had supposedly chosen to abandon the comforts of modern society to carve out a rugged existence in the untamed Alaskan wilderness. Led by patriarch Billy Brown and matriarch Ami Brown, the family, 7 children in total, became known as the Wolf Pack. Together, they built cabins, hunted and fished for survival, and braved freezing winters in remote locations. The early seasons captivated viewers. At a time when reality TV was saturated with glitzy drama and city life, Alaskan Bush people offered something different, a tale of survival, family loyalty, and defiance against civilization itself. But behind the allure of the wilderness, cracks began to appear. Part of the appeal of the show was its cast of characters. Each member of the Brown family was more than just a survivalist. They were personalities, almost like figures from a frontier legend. Billy Brown, the father, charismatic, authoritative, and proud of his vision for his family. Ami Brown, the mother, gentle, loyal, but silently battling health issues that would later become central to the story. Matt Brown, the oldest, adventurous, funny, and a little reckless, the one who seemed destined to lead after his father. Bam Bam, the quieter, more analytical son, often skeptical but reliable. Bear Brown, high energy, wild, and eccentric, the self-proclaimed embodiment of the wolf pack spirit. Gabe and Noah, each carving out their own identity as builders and dreamers. The sisters, Snowbird and Rain, both breaking stereotypes, showing that women in the wilderness could be just as tough as the men. The Browns were different, or at least, that's how it was portrayed. They had their own dialect, their own traditions, and they referred to themselves not as a family, but as a pack. The image was powerful, but the more popular they became, the harder it was to keep the image untarnished. For fans, Alaskan Bush people was addictive, but for locals in Alaska, the story wasn't so simple. Rumors began to circulate that the Browns weren't as isolated as they claimed. Locals reported seeing them in town frequently, sometimes staying in hotels rather than their bush cabins. Critics accused the show of being scripted, pointing to staged scenes and questionable storylines. To some, the Browns were survivalists. To others, they were actors in an elaborate wilderness performance. Still, the show grew. Season after season, the family returned, surviving natural disasters, family illness, and even hostile neighbors. But nothing prepared fans for the moment when one of the central figures, Matt Brown, suddenly disappeared. At the start, Matt Brown was a fan favorite. As the oldest son, he was seen as adventurous, funny, and fiercely independent. He had a spark that made him stand out, even within a cast of larger-than-life siblings. But behind the scenes, Matt was struggling. Fame and isolation don't mix well, and for Matt, the pressure of being in front of millions while living in near seclusion took a toll. By 2016, whispers of alcohol abuse began to surface. Matt checked himself into rehab, a move that shocked fans, but also drew sympathy. He seemed determined to fight his demons, but the struggle would prove long and painful. 2 years later, in 2018, he returned to rehab for a second time, and this time, his absence from the family became more permanent. When the rest of the Browns relocated to California for Ami's cancer treatment, Matt stayed behind. Some believed it was his choice, others suspected it was the family's decision. Either way, he was no longer part of the WOLFPACK. By 2019, Matt was gone from the show entirely. His family never addressed his absence directly, leaving fans confused and angry. Social media lit up with questions. Where's Matt? Why won't they talk about him? The silence only fueled speculation. Was he estranged? Was he battling addiction? Again, or was something darker happening behind closed doors? Matt himself eventually broke the silence. In April 2021, he posted a raw video to Instagram. His voice was shaky, his face tired. He claimed that the show had destroyed him, that the production had fueled his addiction, and that his father had controlled all the money, leaving him with nothing. "We made a lot of money off the show," Matt said. "But because my dad controlled everything, all the money went to him. I didn't have any money or anything. My dad kept that all." The allegations stunned fans. Suddenly, the show that had celebrated unity and survival looked more like a story of control, secrets, and betrayal. As if Matt's struggles weren't enough, darker accusations followed. In 2020, two women came forward alleging that Matt had sexually assaulted them after nights of heavy drinking. The cases were reported to the Los Angeles Police Department, but the district attorney ultimately declined to prosecute due to insufficient evidence. Matt never publicly defended himself, nor did he deny the allegations. The silence left a cloud of suspicion hanging over him, further isolating him from both his family and the public. For many, Matt had gone from the adventurous oldest son to a tragic figure, cut off from his family, battling addiction, and weighed down by allegations. Despite everything, Matt didn't disappear completely. He began posting on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, sharing glimpses of his new life in the North Cascade Mountains. Instead of TV cameras, he now worked on an orchard, watering plants, and building a modest life. He spoke openly about his sobriety journey, admitting it wasn't easy, but celebrating small victories. "I'm not saying I'm successful yet," he told fans, "but I'm having my little victories." For some, it was a redemption arc. For others, it was too little, too late. Meanwhile, the Browns carried on without him. They faced tragedy of their own. Losing Billy Brown in 2021 was a devastating blow. Yet, the rest of the family rallied around Ami and continued filming. Bear, Gabe, Noah, Bam Bam, and the sisters tried to preserve the Wolfpack spirit, but fans couldn't ignore Matt's absence. Whenever new seasons aired, social media would explode with questions. Where's Matt? Will he ever come back? The family's response was cold. Bear Brown eventually admitted that Matt didn't want to be part of the Wolfpack anymore. His words were sharp. Why take his word over the whole family? It makes no sense. The message was clear. The rift was permanent. Just as fans wondered if the family could survive without Matt, another storm hit. After Billy's death, his former business partner filed a lawsuit against his estate, claiming breach of contract and demanding $500,000. Court documents revealed something else. Amy Brown referred to Alaskan bush people in the past tense, suggesting the show had already ended. With 14 seasons completed, the future looked uncertain. Some insiders hinted the show was over for good. Bear insisted it was just on hiatus. But with lawsuits, declining viewership, and the loss of its patriarch, many believe the story of the Wolfpack is finally nearing its end. So where does that leave Matt Brown? He is no longer a television star, no longer the face of the Wolfpack. Instead, he is a man in the wilderness once more, but this time, not for television. This time, it's real. His story is one of fame and fallout, family and estrangement, survival and scandal. And perhaps that's the cruel irony in a show about surviving the wilderness. It wasn't the frozen Alaskan tundra that threatened Matt Brown most. It was fame, addiction, and family secrets. Whether you see him as a tragic figure, a victim of exploitation, or a man undone by his own choices, one thing is certain: Matt Brown's disappearance changed Alaskan bush people forever. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss our upcoming uploads. We bring you untold stories, behind the scenes, truths, and rare insights about the people, legends, and moments that shaped reality television and pop culture as we know it. Your support truly inspires us to keep exploring deeper, researching harder, and uncovering stories that often remain hidden from the spotlight. Every like, share, and comment helps us grow and allows us to continue delivering content that matters. And remember, the wilderness of fame may try to keep its secrets buried, but we'll always be here to shine a light and bring those secrets out for you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.